If you're watching this video, you likely already know that in order to be eligible for the Medicaid waiver or nursing home benefit, you have to have less than $2,000 in total assets and earn less than $2,250 per month in total income as of 2018. Luckily, Medicaid does not require all of its recipients to be completely impoverished because certain assets will be considered exempt by Medicaid. This means that Medicaid will not count certain assets when determining if a Medicaid applicant qualifies. People consulting with a local elder care attorney often ask which assets are exempt from Medicaid or which assets are not counted by Medicaid. In this video, I'll discuss 10 types of assets that Medicaid will not count in Florida. They'll be deemed exempt. The house. If a Medicaid applicant's primary Florida residence has less than $572,000 in equity as of 2018, and the Medicaid applicant has an intent to return home, the house will be deemed exempt. If a Medicaid applicant is married and the spouse continues to reside in the house will be deemed exempt regardless of its value, even if it's worth more than $572,000. This also applies if there's a minor child or special needs child living in the house. In the video notes, I'll link to an article that will go into more detail on the Medicaid asset exemption rules regarding homes. If the Medicaid applicant is married and their spouse remains in the community and is not a Medicaid applicant themselves, then a certain amount of cash can be set aside for that non-Medicaid spouse. This is known as the Community Spouse Resource Allowance, or the CSRA, and this allows the well spouse that does not require Medicaid or nursing home care to retain up to $123,600 as of 2018 while their husband or wife receives Medicaid long-term care benefits. Number 3, one vehicle of any value. In addition, a second vehicle that is 7 years old or older will not be counted by Medicaid unless it's deemed a collectible or an antique. Number 4, personal property. This is also subject to a reasonableness standard. Medicaid does not care about your silverware, jewelry, clothing, refrigerators, armoires, carpets, etc. However, if a new diamond ring is purchased, or if there's an original Picasso hanging on the wall, those will be deemed assets. Number 5, home improvements of any amount. Go get that new kitchen, put on a new roof. But again, keep in mind you'd want to be reasonable. The intent is typically people need to install railings and wheelchair ramps and things that will make the house more handicap accessible, because from Medicaid's point of view, these home improvements will keep the Medicaid applicant out of a nursing home, which is more expensive. They want you to stay at home for as long as possible. Number 6, life insurance. You're allowed up to $2,500 in total and combined cash value from all your life insurance policies. I'll link to another article that will describe in more detail how Florida Medicaid treats life insurance. But essentially, the death benefit is not calculated because Medicaid is only looking for accessible resources, and the death benefit, even if it's $1 million, is not accessible to the Medicaid recipient while they're still alive. Number 7. Your 401k, IRA, or other qualified retirement account. As long as the Medicaid applicant is taking required minimum distributions, these qualified retirement accounts can be excluded as assets. However, as they're paying out, that will be included in the Medicaid income calculation. Number 8. Assets that cannot be sold are deemed unavailable. The classic example is a timeshare. Timeshares can be extraordinarily difficult to sell, but of course they would be considered an asset because they're not protected by the homestead exemption. But if you can show that you attempted to sell, and for that you'd get a letter from a broker or a timeshare company indicating that there has been a good faith effort to sell, but the asset can't be sold or the timeshare company won't buy it back, then Medicaid cannot force you to count it as an asset. Number 9. Prepaid funerals. You can buy irrevocable prepaid funerals for the Medicaid applicant and basically their entire family. So the Medicaid applicant can prepay for their funerals for themselves, their spouse, their sibling spouses, and so on and so forth. Number 10. Rental or income producing property. Non-homesteaded property that is rented out for fair market value will not be counted as an asset. However, the income will be counted. After exempt assets have been determined or purchased, if there are still excess assets, your Medicaid lawyer will help you strategize on how best to legally and ethically convert countable assets into non-countable assets for Medicaid purposes. To learn more, go to www.elderneedslaw.com.